very good morning to you, dear listener, and welcome to Perspectives, this Monday edition of the program. Perspectives is an audience participatory program which usually airs on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday between 9 and 11 a.m. if this is your first time tuning in. Today, we shall discuss the Federal Ministry of Livestock Development's creation and its implications for incessant attacks on farming communities. President Bola Tinubu did announce the creation of this ministry, and in this recent cabinet reshuffle, which the president did, and also appointed new ministers, he formally named a new minister for the Ministry of Livestock Development, which he created. And with the creation of this ministry, there have been growing concerns amongst Nigerians that it is meant to serve a section of Nigerians who are involved in the business of livestock rearing or animal husbandry. To what extent will this ministry constitute a solution to the perennial attacks on farming communities across the country? Is this ministry desirable? These are the issues we shall try to find answers to on this edition of the program. I have been joined here in the studio by three seasoned experts in this area who will share thoughts with us on this subject matter. First, I'd like to welcome the head of Department Animal Production at the Joseph Sarwuan Tarka University, Makurdi. He is the General Secretary, Animal Science Association of Nigeria. Professor David Shaahu is our guest on Perspectives. Welcome to Agate Radio, Professor Shaahu. Good to have you join us on Perspectives.
Thank you.
We also have the State Chairman, Animal Science Association of Nigeria, that's here in Benue. He is of the Department of Animal Breeding and Physiology at the Joseph Sarwuan Tarka University as well, Professor Mike Momoh. Welcome to Perspectives, Professor Momoh.
It's a pleasure to be here.
And of course, the State Chairman, Nigerian Veterinary Medical Association, Benue State Chapter. He is also a lecturer in the Department of Veterinary Pharmacology at the Joseph. I'm not sure I got your department correctly.
Department of Veterinary Surgery and Diagnostic.
Veterinary Surgery and Diagnostic. Dr. Andrew Amine, welcome to the program, Dr. Amine.
Thank you very much, Nathaniel.
Thank you for joining us, dear listener. Perspectives, as we mentioned, is by audience participatory, and at 10 o'clock you can call in to contribute on the subject we are discussing by reaching us on the number 0814-335-9292, 0814-335-9292. Meanwhile, the line for SMS is also available, and you can reach us through that line by sending a short SMS or a WhatsApp chat to the number 0912-699-9404, 0912-699-9404. Log on to our website on www.agateradio.tv.com to listen to us and access other contents of Agate Radio as well. You may download the Agate Radio and TV app from Google Play Store, a one-stop app that serves you to listen to the radio, watch the television, as well as read the newspaper. You can find us on Radio Garden and on social media platforms where this program is also streaming live. Feel free to drop your comments on any of the links, and if it is related to the subject matter, we'll be back. Kindly stay tuned. Welcome back from that short break, dear listener. And I'd like to begin with you, Professor Shaahu. There are many Nigerians who have raised concerns that this Ministry of Livestock Development, created by the federal government, is meant to serve a section of people who are involved in the business of livestock rearing. Are you one of such Nigerians?
Thank you. The Livestock Development Ministry. It's a ministry that the Animal Science Association of Nigeria, as an organization, as an association, has long been fighting or struggling, advocating for, because of some reasons that the concentration of the Ministry of Agriculture on livestock has not been seriously fed by the livestock husbandry officers. It's a new ministry for the livestock husbandry development. It's quite a welcome development for all animal scientists in the country and beyond. The introduction of this new ministry, we not only expand and focused on the details and tailored its policies towards livestock development, but it will also increase the GDP of the country. So all animal scientists are very happy and will benefit immensely from this ministry. And like you know, animal science has several aspects. Even your invitation here, you have captured all of it. It has the nutrition, it has the breeding, it has the production, general production and management, it has the health aspect which the veterinary experts handle. And so this group of people are so excited with this ministry.
Okay, so for you, it is a welcoming ministry. Let me have your thoughts, Professor Mike Momoh. What is the desirability of this ministry at this time?
Okay, thank you very much. I think that the new Ministry of Livestock Development is very desirable for our country at the moment, because you see, over time we have been so dependent on petroleum for our economic development. But you and I know that we've got to a stage where we have to diversify, where we have to look at all the sources of income generation for the country, increasing the gross domestic product of the country. And so the livestock sector or subsector of the economy has a very much potential to unlock investment potentials that is in that sector, that is capable of increasing our national GDP. So for me, it is very welcome at this stage, and I think that Nigeria is actually waking up to realize that yes, there is an investment potentials in this sector that need to be unlocked for us to get to where we desire to go in terms of feeding our populace and in terms of achieving food security, nutrition security for this country. So I think without really diving into other issues, I want to say that it's very desirable at this stage. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Amine, you are a veterinary doctor. Help us understand the essence of a ministry for livestock development at a time challenges in that sector are being faced by the country.
Okay, thank you very much. The Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security before now had housed livestock production, health of animals, and other sector. And being a Nigerian, you would agree that most of the emphasis had been laid on crop production. That is why you see government distributing fertilizers, chemicals, herbicides, and all that. But the coming of this ministry, it is expected that attention will be paid and focused more on livestock production and health, so that that aspect of our economy will actually be revamped. As it were, we have not maximized production in this country, And yet we have had a lot of issues as relates to conflict and all that because of the way that livestock is being reared in this country. As veterinarians, we are not exactly very okay with the naming of the Ministry of Livestock Development because we don't only have livestock in the country. We have other animals like pet animals, dog, cats, and all that, which by the naming are not captured. But we believe it's a step at a time, and in due course, government may reconsider and bring it in such a way that it's all-encompassing, because people are also making fortune from pet animals. People are also having a lot of income from these animals too. And so for now, we hope that at least more attention will be paid to livestock, which on its own alone is capable of even funding the Nigerian budget. If production is well managed, just poultry alone can fund Nigeria budget. But that I wouldn't want to go into at the moment. But maybe as time progresses, we might look at the statistics and see what can be done. So as a profession, it's a welcome development. When the president pronounced the committee sometime in July this year to go and look at the sector and eventually pronounced a livestock development ministry, appointed a permanent secretary and now a minister, it's one step at a time. So it's a welcome development. Thank you.
Okay, Professor Shaahu, there are many Nigerians who argue that this ministry could have simply been a department in the Ministry of Agriculture and not standing alone as a ministry. To what extent will it drive any objective standing alone as a ministry?
Thank you. The Ministry of Agriculture, as it were, was standing like a mother who gave birth to twins. And though have two breasts, the management of the two babies cannot be compared to a mother that has one child. You know, the upbringing of a mother that has one child and the mother that has twins, the concentration of the babies varies. Now, the Ministry of Agriculture, as it were, we're managing both the livestock agriculture and the crop agriculture. And most emphasis because of ignorance to some extent in many persons. Attention was given more to the crop agriculture, just like Dr. Amine mentioned. At every year, every state will launch a fertilizer distribution date. We launch this aid, we launch this aid. Particularly for Benue State, you could recall that the only governor that thought of livestock was Governor Gabriel Susan, who brought in the pig and the swine project in Benue State. You hardly hear researches that are being supported by the Ministry of Agri in livestock. If you come to talk of institutes, the institutes that are being established, most of them are crop institutes. The only two institutes of animal base are the NAPRI and the VOMVET. Those are just the institutes we can boast of that are being supported strongly by the Ministry of Agri. That is not to say that they had ignored livestock completely, but attention, you know, when children are born twins, there is one that may struggle to eat even more than the other. And the crop agriculture had that advantage over the livestock agriculture, and more attention were given. And mostly, animal protein had at some time been taken as a food for the rich. And so that once the crop provided, grains and other things are provided for Nigerian populace and they are able to eat at all, they feel they have satisfied the nation, not minding the nutritional balance. And so when attention is given to crop agriculture, the Nigerian populace are being satisfied. But what is required to balance up the nutrition and the malnutrition that is expected, the large component that comes from the animal agriculture is not included, but not many a times they mind that. So with the establishment of this ministry, more attention will be focused on livestock researches, and then feed resources can be investigated into resistant breeds of animals that can resist diseases and drought, and management can be explored. And then the expansion of the industry we now bring about the employment opportunities and so many other things that we enhance the development of the economy of the nation.
Okay, Professor Momoh, you are an animal breeding expert. Are you satisfied with the methods of livestock rearing in this country, especially maybe the grazing aspect of it for some animals that are meant to be grazed?
Okay, thank you. That is a very important question, which I'm very happy to address. Actually, as a breeder, as an animal scientist, we have not really been doing what is right in terms of getting the maximum output or production that we desire of our animals. Where you want to get the maximum production from an animal unit, you will have to do a system that we call intensive management system, where you have to have extensive, as we have it now, where you have animals grazing all over the place and running all over the place. And, for one, you are not going to, they're not going to be able to conserve the energy that they need to put into production and other productive activities, but they will expend that energy in roaming around. Let me give you an instance. For instance, where you have to have an animal coming all the way from Kaura Namuja and ending up in probably in Port Harcourt. You don't expect that animal to give you milk if it's a milk producing animal, because it would have expended all the energy trekking and looking for food. But where you have the animal in an intensive system, where the animal will only have to eat, rest, wake up again, eat and rest, it gives you the maximum output, the maximum genetic potential that is in it. So as a breeder, we advocate for an intensive management system. And that is where I think that with the new move in the livestock sector, in trying to mainstream the sector, is a welcome development, because we are now going to be able to give attention to all that is needed, that is required in terms of infrastructure and the facilities that are required for this type of intensive system that is required. And so if the new ministry settles down and we want to do business of animal breeding and animal production, then this is the way to go. And before to go that way, we need to provide the needed infrastructure. We need to provide the needed facilities that will ensure that we get the maximum genetic potentials of our animals to give us what we need. So in a nutshell, to answer the question, is that we need a paradigm shift from what we have at the moment to what it should be, the right best global practices that can give the best productivity in animals.
When you mentioned intensive management to have a better value chain in livestock rearing, would we mention grazing, for instance? Is the practice of open grazing a sustainable one for good animal husbandry in the country in terms of breeding?
Certainly not. Certainly not, because if you look at the countries of the world where we depend upon now to get some of our dairy and milk products, because certainly we are not producing milk in this country enough to feed us. We are not having enough dairy products. We depend on other countries, and that's why our import bill, as far as dairy import and dairy products are concerned, is very high. I think statistics puts it at about 1.5 billion US dollars annually, and that is very huge. So these countries don't practice open grazing. They do intensive system of management. But I also know that we have constraints, and the constraints that we have in these countries that over time we've been used to this open grazing thing, and it is not getting us to where we want to go. And that is why I think that the the new effort now to develop the sector will actually bring to fore the need for intensive system of management.
You are aware that the presidential committee set up with the president as chair, co-chaired by former INEC chairman, Professor Jega, they recommended that open grazing as well as ranching coexist. To what extent would that drive a good agenda for livestock management in the country?
Thank you very much, Nathaniel. You know, like I said from the beginning, life is step by step. As far as Benue State is concerned, majority of the people are crop farmers. And so the possibility of having open grazing and ranching, particularly in Benue State, is a bit challenging because the livestock will definitely graze on what is green, and the owner of the crops will not be happy, and this could result to conflict. In my understanding, the coexistence of this open grazing and ranching is where it's applicable. In states where open grazing, just like in a nearby state, Nasarawa State, where it's acceptable, open grazing can take place. In states where there are laws preventing open grazing because of the massive crop production scale, it may not be applicable. Be that as it may, Dr. Shaahu did say something about having twins, you know, and I happen to be a father of twins, so I know what that means, really. Having open grazing and ranching is like having twins. We want to hold these two together. Maybe over time, when we start practicing ranching fully and see the benefits, the government will now settle eventually for ranching and let go open grazing eventually. Because for us in the university and those that do research, you will know that environment, temperature, other things affect research. So if animals are moving from one place to another, you want to categorize them, you want to make a statement about them, it may not be entirely true. Because in the morning, they are in North Bank, in the afternoon, they are in GRA, in the evening, they are in Wadata, you know, and that's just for us here. They could go further than that, and temperature, environment, and other factors may even hinder that. So, but as I said from the beginning, it's step by step. For now, it's a welcome development. Now there has been a lot of call for ranching, even for treatment, management of disease. If animals are moving from one place to another, maybe you're managing them, you're trying to treat them against trypanosomosis here, and then they move to a Sesebet where they are prone to this same disease. So it becomes very difficult to do that. But it's an encouragement, it's a good step in the right direction that the president could chair with the former INEC chairman. You know, it's a very tough combination, really.
Absolutely.
But we accept what it is at the moment and hope for improvement over time, because I believe for sure that ranching will definitely give better result compared to open grazing, and eventually we'll accept it wholly.
Okay, Professor Shaahu, let me have your thoughts on this from the point of view of General Secretary, Animal Science Association of Nigeria, the best livestock husbandry practice that are in tandem with global practice that you advocate.
Thank you so much. You can see that the ranching, what we call intensive management system, the results that the academia share with the farmers, hardly do they carry out investigation, giving or producing so quantity of milk. We are talking of cows that are reared intensively. The statistics of the milk produced by cows that are roaming are hardly available for the public. And so you could see that even if you are talking of it has more disadvantages, it has more losses, and it does not yield much to the potential of any of the animal species. And so we as Animal Science and the association, we advocate for ranching of the cattle, we advocate for intensive rearing system for the chicken and the other animal species. And like Dr. Amine mentioned, if you want to manage your cattle health-wise, intensively, if you vaccinate your animals, or if you want to fumigate your animal house, you shift them to a particular place, you fumigate the whole house without the animals inside, and you allow the place so that the chemical used in fumigation will get free from the place before you return the animals. Now, if you are treating animals that are roaming in the bush, just imagine the work you will do to treat the whole bushes in Benue State so that these animals do not return back to the same disease you have tried to separate them from. So it is even very difficult to manage animals on the free range. A local farmer who keeps just 20 chicken at home, local chicken, does not have access to this chicken at some times when he have his visitor to slaughter and cook for them. Because once the chicken also know that their life is at risk, they run away. And the time you take in chasing them alone expends the energy of your children. And if you are the type that doesn't have children, you must wait overnight to go secretly where they are sleeping to be able to catch them and keep before you can be able to slaughter them the next day. But a farmer's animal, we usually call it a savings bank account, so that at any time you need money, you reach there and you exchange it for money. So imagine you keep them roaming. Like the open grazing that we have experienced here, sometimes you want to buy a cattle, the herdsman will give you at that particular time. So the practice is not encouraging. Thank you.
Okay, dear listener, if you are just tuning in, you are listening to Perspectives on Agate Radio 95.5 Star FM Makurdi. We are discussing the Federal Ministry of Livestock Development and its implications for incessant attacks on farming communities. I have here in the studio 3 panelists, the head of Department Animal Production at Joseph Sarwuan Tarka University. He is the General Secretary, Animal Science Association of Nigeria. Professor David Shaahu is our guest. We also have Professor Mike Momoh, who is of the Department of Animal Breeding and Physiology. He is the State Chairman, Animal Science Association of Nigeria, Benue State Chapter. He is here with us as well. Dr. Andrew Amine is the State Chairman, Nigerian Veterinary Medical Association. He is a lecturer, Department of Veterinary Surgery and Diagnostics, also at Joseph Sarwuan Tarka University. These are the panelists. And later at 10 o'clock, the line for calls will be available, which you can participate on the program. The line is 0814-335-9292. 0814-335-9292. For the time being, the line for SMS is already activated. You can send us a message or a chat on WhatsApp to the line, which is 0912-699-9404. 0912-699-9404. If you are sending a message, kindly remember to include your full name and the location you are sending your contribution from. Log onto our website on www.agateradio.tv.com to listen to us and access other content of Agate Radio as well. Follow our social media pages where this program is also streaming. You can download the Agate Radio and TV app from Google Play Store, which also serves you to access all our platforms, the TV, radio, as well as newspaper. You can find us on Radio Garden. We're available on all these platforms to serve you. Professor Momoh, how does this ministry, in your opinion, aim to address perennial challenges in livestock management, especially attacks on farming communities?
Okay. Thank you very much. Before I address this specific question, can you please permit me to... Well, I think they're actually related.
Very well.
The position of the co-chair of the Presidential Livestock Implementation Committee, which you shared with us.
Very well.
Let me just make a little comment on that because it's related to this present question.
Feel free to do so.
So I may not really actually be speaking for him, but I think that that position that for the moment they are recommending to government that open grazing and ranching can go side by side. If as a professional speaking from that point of view, I think that there is something to consider in that position. You see, the problem we have in economic activities issues, for me, it should not be politicized, because hunger does not know boundaries of tribe, of religion. Poverty does not know all of this. So when we are approaching issues that can help us as a nation to address our situations of poverty and hunger, we should be able to do that dispassionately. So you see, over time, as a nation, we have dwelled in this domain of open grazing, and with caution. So if we say wake up one morning and let everywhere be ranching, it's going to be very difficult, because you need to provide necessary infrastructures and facilities that is desirable for a ranching scheme, and that government cannot do overnight. So I have a ministry that is fully dedicated in terms of even the conflict that we will need time. Government will start making provisions immediately for infrastructural developments that will enable us to transit seamlessly to ranching scheme, while at the same time trying to discourage as far as possible the open grazing scheme. So at the moment, I think if my statistics are correct, about almost 95% of our animals, particularly the ruminant animals, are subjected to open grazing. It's only probably 1 to 5% that are reared intensively by maybe elite farmers. So you can see that the bulk, the huge of the Nigerian livestock farmers are already into this scheme of open grazing. So it has to be a gradual transition but government must step up efforts to be able to make the necessary infrastructure that is required in terms of provision of water, in terms of provision of feed resources. Because while these animals move from one place to the other, they are just moving in search of fodder and water. So if government can provide enough water in a designated spaces where ranching is possible, then of course many farmers will be willing to settle into the ranching scheme. And again, the people have to be discouraged from the notion and the understanding that land and water belong to God. Nobody owns it. And so some people have the feeling that, look, this thing is natural provision that God has made for us. So why are you hindering me from coming to your place to eat, to drink water, or to feed on natural grasses? Subnational governments have to buy into what the federal government is doing by, because this is just trying to address the question that you raised now.
Okay.
Subnational governments, like state governments and local governments, have to buy into the government's vision of ranching by being able to provide land, as it were, and people should be ready. Whoever that is ready wants to do the business of livestock should be ready to get a CFO over a land that he can now use to farm his animals. And so if governments, subnational governments are willing to do this, and individuals are also willing to acquire lands, and then government, through the Ministry of Livestock Development is also able to provide infrastructure that is required, I think that we can seamlessly migrate into the scheme of ranching, which will be better for us, and it will actually unlock the resources that we have in the livestock subsector, and our economy will be better for it. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Amine, earlier on you mentioned briefly the prospects of the livestock development, livestock sector in contributing to the economic development of this country? Do you see this ministry created driving that agenda of contributing sustainably to the growth of the economy through the livestock sector?
Yeah, thank you very much, Nathaniel. Actually, the Nigerian nation depends heavily, or if not totally, on oil. And oil is becoming what I call a gold mine. If you own a car now, you don't drive anyhow.
Yes.
That is if you drive at all. And this is because oil has become very expensive, and very few individuals manage that, so to speak. Now, as a veterinarian, I have had the opportunity to interact with livestock farmers, some of whom also are into crop farming, majorly even. When I first left vet school, somebody told me not to be saying a village vet, so I've adopted the NGO language of a community vet. So I was always being in the villages, vaccinating livestock for farmers, small ruminants. And sometime in 2016, 17, when the crisis in Benue State became so high that people had to run, some of those farmers were able to set up small houses by selling 10 to 15 goats, West African dwarf goats, and they could raise some money to build little houses that they stayed in. After the crisis had subsisted for a long time, many of them could not return back to their farmlands, but these livestock sustained them. That became a driving force for me to be promoting that particularly. Now, I have been a poultry farmer since my undergraduate days, and I know that until I relocated from where I was staying and I needed help, that it became a big challenge. And why was that a challenge? Because the farmer, the attendant would sit down there, would play with his phone, and the bears would go without water. And so we started having losses and all that. Now, as at today, if you want to get a 2 kg broiler, for example, I think you should be looking at 8,000 or so. And if we have like 10 million broilers selling at 8,000 naira, you're looking at about 80 billion. And if you can raise them up to 6 times a year, because at 6 weeks, they are up to 2 kg, if you take good care of them. That is just broiler. And if you add layers, and you bring in cattle, and you bring in swine, and you bring in sheep and goat, and maybe you delve into a little of wildlife, we're going to make a fortune out of it. Before now, the Ministry of Agriculture, like I said, and by the way, most of the time, it's until recently, I think this present administration that had a Minister of State for Agriculture that was even a vet. In Benue State, we have had commissioners of agriculture, some of them engineers, some of them political scientists, and all that in the past. This is the first time in a long time that we're having a commissioner of agriculture who is an agronomist and an advisor who is also an agronomist. So it's not been the business of policymakers who were not experts in driving livestock production, even in that ministry. Currently, the Minister of Agriculture, Alhaji Idi Mukhtar, is a farmer, although he's an economist by training and a teacher. He was a teacher, but he delved in. He will be motivated to drive this process. And the permanent secretary is a vet. So I know that if they carry the vision, because one thing is for someone to be appointed, and another thing is for the person to be passionate to drive the aims and objective for which he was put in place. So if the president wants this ministry to end crisis, as he made his remark when he was creating the ministry, and then the policy formulators who try to bring us into a space where we'll try to have 2 things, open grazing and then ranching, so that we can compare and willingly let go eventually, then I believe strongly that we're going to be better off, and we're going to develop ourselves to the extent that there'll be more protein, and we can actually do exportation. Right now, it's difficult to export any animal product. Some time ago, I was in Abuja and I visited Nigerian Agricultural Quarantine Services, whose CG happens to be our son. And we were discussing the prospects of the agency. And so far, they have created a disease-free zone, and they are able to start exploitation of snails. And their intention is to expand it. If this ministry now brings such agencies under them and allow experts to bring in their inputs, and genuinely I underline that government opens up and accept this, then I can tell you, Nathaniel, that you may one day leave the radio station and come to the farm.
Anyway, I love radio, so I think perhaps I will combine radio with farming, but that's okay. Professor Shaahu, is there a possibility of this new Ministry of Livestock developing a template that would be acceptable for every practice of livestock that is peculiar to every state?
It is very possible. And I can believe that the step in which the Livestock Reform Committee are taking can drive us to that. The consultative meeting they had last week had assembled all animal scientists together, different expertise, veterinarians, animal nutritionists, animal by species, professionals by species, the cattle rearers, the pig farmers, the poultry, and they were discussing the way forward. And I think the submission of the President Tinubu and Jega committee to the president again, President, the chairman.
Yes, he's the chairman of the committee.
And it was submitted to him again, through the
co-chair
yes.
of the committee.
Yes, the proposal they made are going to be refined by the consultation they made last week, because a lot of people came with their challenges and the way forward. And I think that will bring them the good idea to get a template on which every of the sector, the subsector of the livestock sector can be able to operate. And most especially, if I want to say something about this header farmer crisis, which was part of the major statement that was mentioned in the creation of this ministry, you can see that the livestock value chain is one of the platforms that can help settle that matter amicably. Because in livestock value chain, or in value chain generally, it is based on trust and understanding the functioning and the working of every sector or every segment that drives towards a particular goal. Like now, we are all aiming at production of animal protein. And then we rely on the crop agriculturist to feed our animals. We should know how the process which they are able to produce grains. Because when you allow your animals to feed on the forages, their crops will not produce or yield the grains that we need to make the concentrate. And so the procedures and the stages of their production should be known. And in value chain, you know where it pinched the crop agriculturist, where they benefit, and what you can offer to them. Like we can give them our dung, the animal dung, to make fertilizer for them. They can give us their seeds, and we relate harmoniously if we are brought together, the both animal scientist and the crop agriculturist. We can know the stages, even within a community. In our village setup, most of our livestock are even within the hands of the villagers. Few people that are rich and that can keep intensive animals in towns and other places are just making it. But if you talk about feeding Nigerians with livestock protein, animal protein in the villages, it is the local farmers, or you call it, Amine said not for that. The community, yes, the community farmers that are actually providing this animal protein for our communities. And if they understand each other, the way they manage their animals within the communities will be amicable without crisis if value chain principles are brought into play. And so the template which each of these people can operate based on livestock value chain is very possible. Very, very possible.
Okay, and that leads me to you, Professor Momoh. For us here in Benue, for instance, how can livestock rearing or breeding coexist harmoniously with crop production?
Okay, thank you, Nat. Please permit me to just make a little reaction to the question that Professor Shaahu addressed now with respect to how each segment of the Nigerian
yes, we have a template that will be the key into
yes,
in line with the mandate of the ministry.
Yes, because you see, I was privileged to be part of the stakeholder consultative committee that just ended at the weekend in Abuja.
Oh, great!
And in that meeting, the issue of comparative advantage came up, and we realized that the way you do ruminant production in the far north cannot be the same that you want to do it in the south or in the southwest. We realize that when you're talking about poultry development, there are certain areas in this country that that have the comparative advantage. So and then that again also came to the fore. So people in this country have a feeling that this new ministry is for a particular set or segment or region of the country, but I think it is not so, because we are having to do with animal resources, and anywhere in Nigeria there are animal resources that can be developed depending on the potential that you have. So there are templates are being developed to the extent that in Benue there are areas that we specialize, that we can fit in, and that we can develop our own resources. For instance, we may not have, but you could have area where you are talking that we have never even considered. So every part of this country can fit into the template that is being developed now for what is possible within our region to be able to add value to our economic growth. Then specifically talking about how we can...
the livestock management, livestock breeding in general, and crop production, because for us in Benue, our comparative advantage is agriculture, which is even the crop production, not livestock. So how can we bring the template of livestock and crop production to put side by side without any conflict?
For us, because like Dr. Amine earlier said, we are majorly crop farmers in Benue.
Very well.
And so if we must do our crop farming, and we must also carry along animal production, particularly when it comes to ruminant production, we should be able to develop a template that has to do with keeping our animals at bay, such that they may not have to interfere with our cropping activities. And that can only be possible through ranching or intensive production system. And because where you don't have enough land, as it were, dedicated to animal production, and if crop production has taken over the major part of the lands, then of course you have to find a way of making a little provision for animal production. But again, also I also know that there are some marginal lands in Benue that are not suitable for crop production. Such marginal lands can also be utilized for animal production. Take for instance, when you go to some very hilly areas, in the state where crop farmers can hardly climb up to such places and do their cropping, we can reserve such marginal areas to livestock production. In Abuja, when we were discussing at the consultative committee, a man spoke about a model that they are used in their own state. How that, I think he was a traditional ruler, how they have been able to solve the issue of Fulani and crop farmers conflict. And then they had a meeting, and they came up with a model that any area that is hilly, that is marginal, that is not suitable for cropping should be reserved for the people that graze their animals. And the people that graze animals must not, by any circumstance, by any means, enter into areas where people have cropped, area that is meant for cropping. So if we can manage ourselves in such a way that we can designate some marginal areas strictly for livestock farming in terms of grazing, I think that could be a model that we can adopt in Benue. But I think that maybe my other colleagues also have a way to address this. But I think this is a way to go.
Very well. Dr. Amine, livestock management or breeding is said to be a business which people invest in. Do Nigerians, how can Benue, for instance, explore its value chain of livestock that may not conflict with another state in that sector?
Thank you very much, Nathaniel. First of all, let me just add a word to what Prof has said. You know, he talked about our people being into crop farming more, but I think it's an issue of understanding and how we were brought up. And that's where extension comes in. Because I grew up as a crop farmer, and in crop farming, you don't sit down and begin to explain to anybody that you can make a ridge or heap. You take your hoe and go to the farm and prove yourself. So over time, the Benue child was brought up to believe in crop farming more than livestock farming. So when the University of Agriculture was set up and we started getting training on livestock, there was need for extension workers to now go into hinterlands and train our people. Because a thief man, for example, doesn't have so much value on livestock, so to speak. Because when I go to vaccinate in the villages, what people tell me is that they want to now, you know, those kind of things.
Yes.
And I tell them, if you have about 10 goats dead, how can you consume that? You know, you'll be tired of the meat. They say, no, if you kill goat and eat now, they will say you're doing zegana and you may lose a child or something.
They will say,
so those were the issues. Now, I believe strongly that if we are well educated, we'll agree that livestock is very profitable and we'll be willing to combine the two. Because when your rice is still growing and yet to produce and you have a guest or your child falls sick, it is your goat that you sell to take care of those bills. And they are always there for you. If you're having broilers that I talked about earlier, you are very sure when
we're due to start engaging with the listener now.
Okay.
But go ahead, just conclude.
Yes. Back to the question that you asked. Just refresh me quickly.
I was wondering how Benue can explore the value chain in the livestock sector, because the kind of livestock other people practice may not be the same Benue have.
Thank you very much.
How can we explore the value chain?
The Benue man believes that the pig is the most delicacy. And how are we going to explore that? We need to understand the kind of breeds that grow here better and give us the best result. And let me take that opportunity to call on Benue State government to take advantage of this opportunity and begin to explore, to have the ministry infrastructure and the right people to man it, so that we will not be going in circles. Before this ministry came, Sokoto State had already established Ministry of Animal Health, Fishery and Husbandry. Kebbi State had already established Ministry of Animal Health and Fishery, and other states in the north. They had already seen that there is need to develop in this line so that there will be comparative advantage. But we, who are the food basket of the nation, which, by the way, is not just about crop, but both crop and animal, had not done any much to take advantage of what may come, which it has now come. So I want to advise and encourage that let us develop the areas that will have strength. Every household in Benue State, you go, you find a local chicken, you find a sheep and a goat, the West African dwarf, and you also find a pig. but they are mostly left to roam, and when they die, so be it. So I encourage every Benue person to begin to take interest in livestock production to complement the farming that we are primarily known for, so that in the end we can have a better income, different stream of income. But pig is being our delicacy, and we must stream towards that aspect. Even when the meeting that Prof talked about, regions were identified with comparative advantage, and Sokoto, Katsina also, they are known for cattle. They put small ruminant also, Borno and one other state. They put poultry in the west. But I didn't see Benue State because maybe we have not done enough to appear on the map. Benue should have taken the place of pigs.
It's okay. That's why we are here. Dear listener, if you are just joining us, you are listening to Perspectives on Agate Radio. We're discussing the Federal Ministry of Livestock Development and its implications for incessant attacks on farming communities. You can call in on 0814-335-9292. 0814-335-9292. We'll start taking your calls, but that will be after this short breather. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still listening to Agate Radio, and lots more to discuss on the subject matter we're focusing on. You can call in and also share your thoughts with us. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Welcome to Perspectives.
Yes, this is Steve Associate Michael, the head of state, calling from President Nigeria. Introducing the livestock ministry is welcome development for Nigeria, most especially Benue State. Because we don't even know the importance of the animals we have in but creating this will educate us, and then we create another way for us to go much on how to maintain the animals and how to treat them. We don't even treat them. We just leave them. We don't even feed them. We don't know.
Tewasi, hello. The network at your end seems to be breaking. Maybe you want to change your position so we can hear you better.
Hello?
Speak on, Tewasi. We are listening to you.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Very well.
Hello?
Okay, Tewasi, I'm sorry. We may have to disconnect with you. The network is a bit unfriendly, but the line is still open. 0814-335-9292. 0814-335-9292. The SMS line is 0912-699-9404. Good morning. Hello. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives. Okay, we lost connection with you, but the line is still open. 0814-335-9292. Good morning. Hello. Hello.
Morning.
Oh, it does appear there's a glitch of network out there. Well, of course, we'll continue to try as much as possible to engage with you. 0814-335-9292. The SMS line is 0912-699-9404. Good morning. Hello. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives. Hello, good morning.
Morning, sir.
Thank you for joining us on Perspectives.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Joel.
Yes, Joel who and where is Joel reaching us from?
Yes, Mr. Joel from Goa, Maka.
Good. Joel, go ahead and speak to us.
Yeah. All right, the issue I'm calling is this issue of ranching. if we look deeply into it, we are farmers, we are having serious affected. Because you as a farmer, if you farm a crops and you discover that the animals has destroyed the crops, and at the end of the year, you discover that you end with nothing to eat at home with the family. If you look it very well, it gives downfall or default from a family, and that gives a lot of challenges. And if you look at it, the animals that they are moving from one point to another, the treatment of the animals is very difficult because of the moving. So I think it's better that the animals need to be in one place.
Okay.
So that the maintenance and the treatment will be safe. And even the farmers will cultivate their crops without having problems.
Okay. Thank you,
Yeah.
Joel, for your contribution. Thank you. All right. Joel is of the opinion that ranching should be facilitated in such a way that the animals are meant to confined and not to graze on cultivated crops. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Morning,
Thank
Nathaniel.
you. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, this is Peke Solomon from Daytown in my local government area.
Good to have you join us, Peke Solomon.
Thank you. I'm so much happy of this program this morning.
Thank you.
I must recommend the contribution of the discussants in the House. What I want to say is that I will not be happy to see another ministry destroy another ministry. Are you getting me?
Okay, maybe when you speak, we'll get to you. Yeah, what you
Okay.
mean? We're hearing you louder.
Okay,
Go
what
ahead.
I'm trying to say is Ministry of Agri cannot go with the vehicle or whatever means to go and destroy Ministry of Education. Because this is another ministry of, so there should be very serious monitoring that they should not be distracting farmers. The agricultural sector is coming, so they should be kept one place, as my brother said in the studio, so that if their treatment will be carrying on to them, it will be very effective. And if they want to sell, they will not be promising people. We have so many advantages of keeping livestock one place to train. So that's my opinion.
Okay, so in essence, you are saying this Ministry of Livestock Development should drive that agenda of getting the livestock stay in one place. That is your submission?
That is my opinion, Nathaniel.
Thank you, Peke Solomon.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Thank you. Have a great day in your day. Thank you for calling in. 0814-335-9292. Let's hear from you what this ministry means to you and the extent to which the attacks on farming communities will be addressed. Good morning. Hello, good morning and welcome to Perspectives. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Morning. Talk to us. You are on.
Yes, it's still on the face back on the line.
Okay, we are glad you called back. Sesu.
Yes, for me, I want to appreciate and welcome the development so much, because this will educate us, the local farmers, much about layering of animals. We ask them, but we don't even know how to feed them, even to treat them. We don't even treat them. And it's a very good economy, which we don't know. So I want to welcome the ministry so much, and then for them to create a training ground for local farmers about layering of animals and how to handle them, to create ranches. They open grazing in Benue State is creating another downfall to our own animals at home. Come to our community in Bayongo here. We are killing some goats, sheep, in order to farm cassava nearby, which the cattle have been taking over our farming crops. So this will educate us much on having domestic animals also. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Sesu. All right. That will also educate us on having domestic animals. Sesu says so. Good. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Morning. Kindly move away from your radio or turn down its volume.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. We're listening to you.
Ada Elijah, North Bank.
Ada Elijah, go ahead.
From North Bank.
Okay.
My opinion and my suggestion first is issue of anti-open grazing at the national level. We discovered that in Benue State here, where our former governor has tried so much to implement or bring in the issue of anti-open grazing, it so much helped us, but for the national or the federal government to embrace such, it was a very big tax, and we thought the anti-open grazing at the national level, and with the introduction of this livestock system of farming,
Ministry.
it is obvious that animals can move anywhere. If it is controlled right away from the national level and all the states have already embraced the anti-open grazing stuff, the Ministry of Livestock and this thing would have been easily taken over. That is my submission.
Okay, Elijah, before you go, I want to understand you clearly. You mean the states should have had, all the states in the country should have had the policy banning open grazing before this ministry will come into play, or what?
Yes. I feel that if it is done like that, it would have been very easy for it was giving us a lot, it has given a lot of problem. Farmers said that crashes everywhere because farmers are this crop farming stuff and animal. Even if you go to Adamawa, where nomadic farmers and the peasant farmers, they normally fight and then do and undo. It's as a result of this anti-open grazing law. If it is implemented all over the states, plus the federal, definitely with the introduction of this anti-open grazing, I mean this...
You are itching to say something in sense of what he said. But by the way, Prof, just hold on. I'll get back.
Yeah, hello.
Please.
Yeah.
The network is breaking at your end and we can barely hear you.
It's a question and a contribution. Take the statistics of people that own.
I'm sorry, we can't get you clearly, listener. Once you connect with us to enable us have a seamless conversation, kindly turn down the volume of your radio set or move away from it. This way, we'll hear you without any interruption. Please assist us when you do that. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes, my name is Abraham TV, calling from behind Federal Locust, North Bank, Makurdi.
Very well. Go ahead, Abraham.
Yes, I want to say that the introduction of the Ministry of Livestock is a welcome development in our country. And I still want to use that opportunity to say that the introduction of the ministry should be a mechanism that will dispense the quick establishment of anti-open grazing at the national level, so as to eradicate all forms of herders, farmers crisis which have been governing in the country. I want to appreciate the gentleman in the studio, particularly Dr. Andrew Amine. He has been my patron in YCS, and it has been nice to have you, sir.
Thank you, Abraham.
Thank you very much.
Abraham, thank you very much. Thank you very much. You are going to buy airtime to greet Andrew Amine, your patroness on YCS on program. Thank you. But anyway, that's okay. We would like to make it clear, establish a clarification that for Benue State, the law in place is called Open Grazing Prohibition and Ranches Establishment, not anti. So, for purpose of those who may want to quote the law, that's the proper title of that law. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Oh, we lost connection with that caller. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you very much for calling in on Perspectives.
Yes, I'm Chief Abella from Naka.
Abella. Abella who?
Abella Aloy.
Chief Abella Aloy. Thank you for joining us from Naka. Go ahead and speak to us.
Yeah, I appreciate your discussion in the studio.
Thank you, sir.
And you and the doctors involved. You know, their coming in is a welcome development. Maybe they will also try to assist us so that this farmer header prices will be reduced. If not, their coming in will not be a successful act. Because with their education, it will become a waste. If this anti-open grazing or open grazing law, as in quote, comes to exist, their practice and education will assist us in producing crops and animals. And again, I want to ask this question. I am a poultry producer too. And this season, I had about 100 broilers. But because of the exorbitant cost of food production and this poultry feed, I had to inculcate my own, which yielded a negative result, and all my broilers died. So, doctor, I want to use you people, and you too should also use us. You should try to talk to the government so that this process will come to an end. And also, what am I going to do about this my feed issue? What local production will I put in place so that I will succeed in this my poultry because of this exorbitant price? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chief, for calling in. We appreciate you for your opinion. Anyway, that's part of he's talking about his own livestock that he rears in Benue poultry. I don't know whether as that ministry expands, it will let us know whether they capture that.
Hello?
Good morning. Welcome to Perspectives.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Nongu. Good morning to your guests in the studio.
Thank you.
Morning,
yes.
sir.
I am Engineer Sunday Akpa. I'm calling from Loveback, Makurdi. The implementation is what will determine whether animal roaming about, and if the intention is to bring resolution or the clashes between farmers and herders, that is a welcome development. But if it is another way to encourage them to go to roam about and then give them more money to destroy our crops, then it's not welcome. Like one of your guests said, this could have been like Benue here, that is where determine whether it's a welcome development or not. That's my take.
Okay. Sondakpa, thank you.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much
for calling in. Okay, implementation should be what would determine whether that ministry lives up to its mandate or otherwise. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
Could you speak
up?
up?
To all the guests in the studio.
Thank you. You sound very distant from your phone, inaudible. If you speak up, we'll hear you better.
Okay. Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I regard all the...
Yes, we have taken your regards. Go ahead, tell us your name and where you're calling from.
My name is John G. I'm calling from the Livestock Local County Development. But let ministry should involve all Nigerians, not emphasize on the one section of Nigeria. That's my development. Thank you very much.
Okay, about the ministry votes across the country.
Hello.
Morning.
Hey, brother, who is good from Tarka? Go east.
Berlin have got a local government already. But that's okay.
Great council ward.
Okay.
Berlin, go east local government.
Okay.
It's a dream. Maybe one day the dream will come true.
I want you to stay on what we are discussing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You know, as a farmer, we need to engage ourselves in both the animals and cropping farming. But I want to advise very practicing the crop farming are also benefiting from me. So we need to be very very serious in our career because the fence there is very, very solid and concrete. I think it won't be easy for them to go out and spoil our farm land around the environment. So the issue of animals we are talking, we need the support from the government. As you just in the studio is saying, I think based on the treaty mistake, we in the rural area, we always find it difficult because sometimes someone will come him or herself as an expert by treating our animal. But at the end of the day, there are some people in the rural area that don't even know that those drugs that are treating the animal from the expert are not really good. Sometimes they start or based on the serious business. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. You had a concern about Ada Elijah's submission. And let me refresh your mind on that submission. Ada this stated that were this Ministry of Livestock Development coming at a time where all the states origin, you wanted to react to that?
Yes, if I would understand him very well, he was trying to see that despite the fact that Benue State had this law in place,
yes,
the neighboring states, since the state boundaries are now built with walls, there was some influx of the people grazing openly into the lands of Benue and was still causing some problems. So his concern was that if the whole country accept that there should be, trying to let him know that it is because of these problems that the ministry actually came on board to resolve the crisis, or to relevant states, or the boundaries could be created, or things like that. So the ministry is coming to solve a problem. So if the problem was already solved, maybe there wouldn't have even been the ministry on board for now. So the ministry will actually come to address such issues.
But Professor Momoh spoke about the stakeholders' engagement in Abuja. If you look at livestock rearing, a large part of it that often attention is given to is just cattle rearing. And it is done predominantly in the far northern Nigeria. To what extent would every state feel inclusive in this new approach for a proper livestock management in the country?
Yeah, with this ministry and focusing on livestock generally, and the stakeholder meeting that was converged in Abuja, livestock experts past Pashi were invited, and they all brought in their ideas on how to enhance the various aspects of livestock according to Pashi. So I am seeing that with this ministry, emphasis will not be over emphasized on the cattle rearing alone. The poultry industry is there, crying on how to, like, I was saying that they were distributing maize and rice to civil servants in the state, and I didn't see any egg. I didn't see any piece of meat. They didn't bring turkey and anything. They don't usually consider the livestock protein per se in any of these sharings most of the times. With this new ministry, I am believing, and we are believing, that the policies of livestock will be developed by experts who are professionals, and they will guide the minister, whoever it will be at any time from now on, like the cattle rearers. It will embrace both the poultry, the pig. In fact, Benue are almost projecting pig forward in everywhere they go. And by the time the industries or research institute for pig production is located here in Benue State, you will see what we do with pigs. It will be far reaching. Like when I was slaughtering here in Benue State, I used to get orders from Abuja and other states. I do weigh beef for pork, and they are transported to deliver at different parts of the country because of the quality of pork that we produce from the pure breeds that we have here in Benue State. So it's not all about the concentration on cattle rearing, and that is what the ministry, the policies that will be helping the ministry to move forward, will be channeling their own resources to.
Okay, Professor Momoh,
yes,
go
please,
ahead.
If I also may add.
Yes.
Let me educate. During the consultative stakeholders workshop in Abuja, we had a thematic area of feed and fodders, where like somebody who contributed, a while ago talk about the high cost of feed production or feeding animals. There's going to be a whole lot of investment in the area of feed manufacturing and feed production, including fodder production. Sometimes you may have the animals situated in the north, but even the feed production is in the south. The fodder and all of that can come from another region of the country. It is all about economics. It's all about business. So when we begin to think that it's only about cattle, then that is where we get it wrong. But it is about the entire spectrum of the livestock or the animal resources. Dr. Amine a while ago was talking about the fact that the ministry is not even all encompassing as to include pet animals and companion animals. And it's part of the responsibility of the ministry, even though that name. And there is a huge thematic area of animal genetic resources for the nation. So let us not be made to believe that this is all about cattle only. Anything animal, poultry, pig, small ruminant, micro livestock, even anything that has to give us animal protein. So.
Okay. Dr. Amine, you are itching to say something, but let's engage with a few more persons before we come back. Good morning. I'm sorry, once your line is that way, it will be difficult for us to speak, and best we'll disconnect. 0814-335-9292. 0814-335-9292. Good morning. Hello, good morning. Oh, we lost connection with that caller already. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
Yeah, good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Yes, I am Engineer Thomas Doyo. I'm calling from Attackson.
Thomas Doyo.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I have something to advise about this ranching of a thing. This ranching of a thing that we're talking about, not just talking about ranching, just about doing something, because the government have to start, then the masses will now join.
No. Thomas, when you say
yes.
that, is it the business of government to do ranching for people? You mean?
Yes.
Wait.
I want to advise
Thomas. Wait.
Yes.
Let's get something clear here. Do you mean government should be the one establishing ranches for people, or government should go into livestock management and practice ranching as some?
Yes, like in the villages, like each local government, they will have a space where the local government, as we're talking mainly, the challenges we're having, if you give the Flamings men a land for them to do anything, they claim that they bought the place. So, but if the government now build it somewhere that those cows will be staying there, hello?
You are on, Thomas.
So they'll have everything to pay tax. Maybe if you come to stay for 6 months, maybe you pay little money, you take care of your cow, you feed them there, you do your business. When your time is over, you go. It will be the best for us than this one they're just saying they're not doing. And we, the farmers, we always have this problem with the flammy headsmen in the bush, because by the time you find them come there, they meet you, only you. So government should, each local government, the local government.
Okay. By that agenda, maybe by the government approach.
This is Dr. Agnawa, the line.
Agnawa who, and where are you calling us from?
Agnawa Joe from Growers, Naka.
Okay, Agnawa Joe.
Joel from Naka.
Joel, okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I most appreciate the efforts of the government. Because, and that's mostly, thank God, because whatever has the beginning must have ending. I know that a man of God is in the house, and a man of God will bring good to the world. Can I briefly look at history of Benue State? If we turn around and look at the food basket there, we don't have anything like animals. We have a lot of things inside that basket, and it contains food. And most food inside that basket is for planting. There's nothing like animal there or meat. So you see, from the far days back, someone from another state will be saying, "Let me go to Benue State," just because of all the food, the cheaper. And now, because of those animals training or those animals in the bush, are making farmers being scared, running away from one point to another without bringing crops at home. And if you see Benue State now, we are suffering of food. So, for my own suggestion and my own opinion, I'm pleading before the government that we don't need anything like animal training in our state because we believe in food basket. If you look at the basket there, content of food, not animal or meat. So please, I'm pleading from the house. As God has bring this program, I know that a lot of things will come good on it. Please.
All right, Agana Joy, thank you. We thank you for your contribution. Okay. Agana, but I think
that crop again is both protein and carbohydrate.
I
save the
Institute Makurdi of Livestock Development Makurdi of Livestock Development. I existed under the Federal Ministry of empowered and increased its capacity through strong legislative backing for it to operate up to the problem with the creation of the Ministry of Livestock Development, so long as it will not engender and promote open grazing of livestock, as open grazing threatens the security of lives and property in our farming communities, and by consequence brings about food insecurity. Open grazing is also one of the major causes of desertification, which in turn causes what the whole world is grappling to control with now, known as climate change. And Nigeria, as far as Africa is concerned, has been leading the pack in the issue of climate change at the world level. Then how should Nigeria be promoting open grazing? To me, open grazing should be out of the question completely.
Okay.
If we must make a headway.
Justin, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your contribution. All right, that's Justin's opinion that the creation of the ministry was entirely needless, given that there existed a ministry already. I mean, a department of that nature in the Ministry of Agriculture already. But that's okay. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, we lost connection with you. Good morning. For 335-9292. Just a few more calls and we'll conclude. We'll wrap up with the calls and come back to you in the studio. Good morning.
Yes, I'm Jan Thomas Marchis. I'm called back.
The name is?
Engineer Thomas Doyle from Manchester. I called back.
Okay, Thomas, please use just 30 seconds.
Yes.
We'll allow you to call only once on perspectives now. Yes.
It will be proper for the local government to have where they will provide for the masses, anybody that wants to do any kind of cow business, whether cow, whether pigs, whatever thing they are doing, they will build, so they will tax there.
Okay.
Because everybody is important in this world.
This is not different from the earlier submission you made. So 0814-335. We should have concluded with a different caller, not you. So we'll give just a little more time. 0814-335-9292. Good morning. Okay. Well, it does appear quite a number of calls we are unable to have through today due to the network out there. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, Nathaniel.
Thank you very much for joining us. Could you speak up a bit?
I want to greet Engineer Andrew Amine.
Engineer Andrew Amine, you are greeted.
You
have been, we have been co-opted into an engineer now.
My submission is this. The Ministry of Livestock Development, one way that ministry can feed, that is the livestock farmers. The ministry cannot be chasing them from pillar to post to where they are rearing these animals. These ministry officials can always visit those locations on a daily basis and at designated times to attend to these things. So they should encourage, the farmers should encourage their members, that is the livestock farmers should encourage their members to set up ranches so that they can benefit maximally from this livestock development ministry.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Engineer Augustine Eke once more.
Augustine Eke, thank you for calling in. And that will be the last call from Augustine Eke on today's edition. The concluding issues we'll be focusing on now will be the security aspect. Dr. Amine, you're listening to the callers. And when you talk about these attacks, they are often, based on their submissions, they're a product of interaction with livestock breeders, pastoralists. What can this ministry do as a solution to this challenge?
What the ministry needs to do is to provide justice and fairness. If you listen to the callers, many of them have allayed some fears as to whether this is going to focus on cattle production alone, which is what Professor Momoh has tried to let us understand, that there are several thematic areas that this ministry is going to cover. As someone who has personally been involved or has been affected by the farmers' headers crisis, I know how it feels when you wake up in the morning and the loved one was in the farm and he was brutally killed. And then you have to go bury them amidst fear of even not being able to leave the scene. Now, what Nigerians are complaining, or most callers have said, is what is obtainable. Nigerians sometimes, when placed in position of authority, many times, they tend not to be fair. They tend to become practice favoritism. And so people show if it should be that way. We have the opportunity to give people benefit of doubt. As professionals in the studio speaking, as production, nutritionists and breeders and veterinarians, we are looking at this livestock ministry as a way so that we can exist as we have in the past. When we were born, we knew Fulanis as coming to the seasonally. When the rains return, they go back. When the dry season is coming, they come, and we stay together without problem. Until recently, when if you see a cattle, so we are hoping that this ministry will bring a different perspective. It will bring a solution to this problem, because we all agree that for now, we are not at peace with one another as far as crop farming and livestock farming farmers are concerned. And we have also agreed that ranching is the right way to go. But we believe that this gradual process is the best option, where you have opportunity to compare your open grazing and your ranching system and see the benefits for yourself. As a veterinarian, growing up, we used to take, our lecturers used to take us to the field to go and attend to cattle heads, But at some point, when the crisis became much, Professor Erastus Gan of blessed memory did say outrightly. So now we are limited to treating three, but going into the hinterlands for this has become scary. We believe that if ranching is embraced alongside open grazing, in areas, like I said in my opening remarks, where it's not possible to combine the two, we stick to one. And where it's possible to carry the two concurrently, we practice it, so that in the end, we can look at the benefits. Professor Momoh talked about dairy farming. If a cattle is traveling 350 kilometers, you cannot even weight gain. Conversion won't be there. The animal will just be using energy. So it cannot convert to anything, and that is why you see these animals are Caucasic. You cannot look at Frisian bulls, they are how many kg? But the white Fulani, average weight 350,000.
Okay, our time is no longer there. Professor Shaahu, this will be your concluding thoughts. What recommendations do you have for the new Ministry of Livestock Development to effectively address the incessant attacks on farming communities?
I would advise the new ministry to use the value chain approach to address this issue, using capacity building, letting the livestock farmers know their relationship with the crop farmers, because the livestock farmers obtain their feed from the crop farmers, and in value chain approach, every value chain actor knows that a chain has rings that are joined together, and the weakest link of a ring is the strength of the whole chain. And so, in value chain, every actor ensures that every ring remains strong, so that the chain that will determine the strength of the chain. So to ensure that the livestock industry survive and is sustainable, every actor, beginning from the crop agriculturist to the livestock practitioners, must ensure that everyone city building, educating, achieve a value addition.
Enhance effective production in a livestock enterprise. And so, just as Professor Shaahu has said, if you realize that you, as an animal farmer, as a livestock farmer, you will need the crop residues to be able to feed to your animals, then you should be able to harvest. You could have access to them. Your activities is going to impede or is going to negatively affect the activities of the other farmer. You should be able to trade cautiously so that when you have mutual respect for one another, I think it will reduce this conflict. And again, I also want to say that a lot of people have capitalized on these headers farmers clashes to commit crimes and criminalities. And so a lot of synergy between the new ministry and the security agencies is very, very important to be able to curb, because what we see today actually are just crimes and criminalities. They are not necessarily as a result of a clash between herders and farmers. People have taken advantage of that and committing crimes, criminalities. So the new ministry should be able to liaise effectively with the security apparatus of the state to be able to curb excesses that we see today in these clashes. Thank you.
Dr. Amine, our time is no longer there, but I will just give you 10 seconds of your parting words.
Let us rebuild trusts amongst ourselves, the crop farmers and the livestock farmers, so that we once again live as brothers and sisters even better. And it is my hope that this ministry will definitely bring something better and lift us higher than we've been. Thank you.
Professor David Shaahu is the head Department of Animal Production at the Joseph Sarwuan Tarka University, Makurdi. He is the General Secretary, Animal Science Association of Nigeria. Prof, thank you for coming on Perspectives. Professor Mike Momoh is a lecturer Department of Animal Breeding and Physiology. He is the state. Mike Momoh, we are grateful to you for Nigerian Veterinary Medical Association, Benue State Chapter. He is a lecturer Department of Veterinary Surgery and Diagnostics. Diagnostic Imaging.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Nathaniel.
Dear listener, that's our program today. Join us on Wednesday for a fresh edition. My name is Nathaniel Nongu. Have a great week ahead. Thank you and goodbye.